Hey, what's going on, y'all? Today, bring it to you the quote of the day from one of our most distinguished brothers that not a lot of people know about outside of the so-called conscious Black community. Brother Dr. Amos Wilson, one of our greatest scholars ever, and he was alive in our lifetime, essentially. So in the 1990s is when he really came to prominence. Late 80s, early 90s, and he died in 95 mysteriously. But this is one of our greatest brothers. He wrote a landmark book called Blueprint for Black Power. That's where his quote comes from for today. How different would our education be if we went to school to learn to create jobs for ourselves? And this is a very poignant comment because what he's talking about is the psychology. And for those you don't know, his doctor in front of his name because he's a psychologist, clinical psychologist. So as you think about that, let's think about that again. I'm gonna say again, how different would our education be if we went to school to learn to create jobs for ourselves? And see, that is important because what he's saying there is oftentimes, and I'm not saying in every instance, but in 99.9% of the instances of Black folks here in the US, we have been taught to go to school to get a job, right? It's as if your whole life, oh, you got to go to college, you got to go to college. Then we go to college, go get a good job. What does good mean when you're talking about job? And why do we have to go to college to go work for somebody else? Why can't we create our own jobs? And if we're creating our own jobs, i.e., creating our own economy, then is college really necessary? Or will we develop some type of training system that was necessary for us to create our own businesses and employ ourselves and build a nation? And oftentimes that's what Dr. Amos Wilson talks about in a lot of his lectures and talks. And it's very poignant what he's saying there because it speaks to the mentality that we have as Black folks as to be workers and consumers and not be producers and creators of things. The only thing we've been creating is wealth for other people because we consume so much for our daily lives and activities. And really, a lot of it's overconsumption. But we purchase all these items from other people that are not Black. And therefore, we're basically transferring our wealth from us into the white people's hands or our oppressors, whether they be white or Chinese or some other Asian culture, Arab, whatever it may be. It's just a big wealth transfer. And so that's one of the things we have to look at and understand and start to change our thinking. And us as parents, change the thinking of our children. And if we change our thinking, change the thinking of our children, we can change multiple generations in the future to come. And so I thought this was a very poignant and important quote for us to talk about today and to think about and to enact and enable within our lives. I know most of us have already either went to college or are thinking about going to college. But the other thing I would say to that is do not force your children into college or into a specific field of study or any field in general. If they have an ability or a skill set that is going to allow them to create their own job, explore that with your children, whether it be barber, beautician, whatever else it may be, and dig deep into the field of study in and of itself for that occupation. For example, if you're a barber, a lot of brothers be out here renting these buildings. Why don't you buy the building and rent the other chairs to other people who want to be barbers themselves? Therefore, you monetize it. You have a physical property. You're collecting rent every month. Plus, you're able to make money on your own. So you got other guys who are barbers paying for your building, and you have property of real physical real estate and an asset class that you can use to leverage to purchase and build your wealth in other ways. Another thing, if you're a sister, same thing with a beautician. You could buy your own shop, rent out the chairs. But going even deeper, we should have our own beauty stores, right? And really, that's really a misnomer because when you in fact put beauty in front of the store, then that also assumes that before you walked in this store, you weren't beautiful, which is not the case. But basically what I'm saying is we need to think outside of the box. There's wealth within our community, because if there wasn't, you wouldn't see all these Arabs and these Chinese all in our community stealing all our money, exporting it out into their own communities, while we beg and scratch and claw and whine about we don't have no damn money. And why aren't they building this for us? Why aren't they putting grocery stores? Well, shit, put the damn grocery store in yourself, right? So these are the types of things we have to think about as we move forward, man. It's 2018. We shouldn't be singing the same song, 10, 15, 20, 40, 50 years from now. My daughter shouldn't be saying it, right? We should be able to teach our children these types of lessons, and then they should enact them in their lives. But more than us just talking, we have to do it ourselves, because talk is cheap, right? Action speaks louder than words. Children watch what we do more than what we say. Same thing for adults. You say one thing, but you do another. There's an old saying, I'd rather see a sermon than to hear one any day. So that's what we need to do and understand as we move forward as a people, and to help move ourselves forward, change our thinking so that we can think as business owners and as nation builders, as opposed to consumers, right? And be producers. So I'll read Brother Dr. Wilson's quote again. How different would our education be if we went to school to learn to create jobs for ourselves? So that's it for today, folks. We'll holler back tomorrow. Peace.